Welcome back to the My Wisdom, My Voice podcast with Z. This is part of a coffee series who I dedicated to my grandmother Beecham. And if you haven't listened to the episode one, please go back and listen because I share the whole story of why I dedicated it to her. But today's episode two is special in a way, and it's named Assume the Positioning. Before I get started with this lesson or this discussion, I want to tell you a short story because the whole series is really not just about coffee, but understanding life and how we move through it. Life is always moving. We transition, we grow, we reposition ourselves. And sometimes we don't even realize that the small moments are teaching us something bigger. So let me start off with a simple moment that happened that clicked to me. And I was just, I woke up typically on my typical morning and I wanted a cup of coffee. So I headed to the kitchen, grabbed the coffee maker and everything that I use to make my coffee. I lined the center filter, I threw the coffee grinds in, I put the water in, and I turned it on. I waited a moment when I turned it on just to, I heard the sound to make sure that it was working. And then I always, before I walk out, is to wait for that smell, the initial smell to hit your nose to get that fresh, just coffee smell that I love. So after that, everything is fine. I walked out of the kitchen confident that when I returned back to the kitchen that I would have a full pot of coffee ready to pour into my coffee cup. But when I walked in, there was nothing in that coffee pot. So I scratched my head. I walked over, flipped up the top part of the coffee maker, and I saw that the water and the coffee grinds was held in the middle part, and I had positioned the center part incorrectly, closing off the center hole where it releases the coffee into the pot. So what did I do? I tried to fix it. Mid brew, I picked up the center, tried to turn it correctly, straight, and just made a big old mess. Mess. The coffee grinds went everywhere, and the cabinets around it just got messed up. So I just decided it was just too much residue. And the coffee that did finally release into the pot, it wasn't even enough to even drink the cup of coffee. So I just went ahead, started over, made a cup of coffee, drank my coffee, and got going with my day. But later on, something clicked in my head, and I started thinking about that very moment. And I asked myself, why couldn't I have my fresh pot of coffee that first time? I had everything: the water, the coffee grinds, the machine, the heat to brew it, an expensive coffee maker, right? Everything needed to have that cup of coffee the first time, but it wasn't positioned correctly. So it blocked everything and nothing flowed. And that had me thinking about my life and how life sometimes goes for us in general. For me, particularly, one area of my life that this reminded me of is my career. For others, it may be a relationship. For others, it may be buying a house, whatever it may be. But for me, my career was on a certain path and a trajectory that I had planned. So I thought I had everything: the education, the experience, the work ethic, the vision, the connections. I was doing everything on the checklist that was what I felt that would get me where I needed to be. But the truth is, I kept hitting a ceiling wall. I would only get to a certain point and then I would get knocked back down, or sometimes the doors would close. I watched other people move ahead, coworkers, people in my same field on the same path, come right in, walk right beside me, and walk through the door. And I used to internalize that. I would ask myself, what am I doing wrong? But what I'm beginning to understand now is, but which I didn't understand back then, sometimes it's not about the effort and everything that you have, but sometimes it's about assuming the correct positioning. Just like I discovered that what happened when I made that cup of coffee. You can have everything required to succeed, but if you're not in the if you are in the wrong environment, let me say that again, if you are in the wrong environment, around the wrong people, and aligned in the wrong structure, nothing will release for you. Positioning and assuming the positioning means being in spaces where growth is supported and not blocked. Come on, I have to say that again. I'm starting to be a preacher. Growth is being in spaces where you are supported and not blocked. It means being honest about whether the environment you're in is aligned with who you are becoming. It means asking yourself some real questions. Is this relationship aligned? Is this job aligned? Is this path aligned? Or am I forcing something because what I really want is so bad, it doesn't matter that everything is telling me that it's not right. So in this season of my life, I'm learning to do something totally different. Instead of pushing harder when things don't flow, I pause. I reassess my position, just like a GPS system in our cars. If we miss a turn, the system, it will reposition us to the correct direction. But at the end of the day, we have to listen to the GPS and reposition the direction in which we are going. So here's the question I want to leave with you today. Where in your life do you already have all the pieces that you feel, but you may be slightly off position? And what would it look like to adjust that positioning before you exhaust yourself trying to force something like I used to do to work? That's not really not in positions to work. So just remember that when you are making that decision is, are you in the environment in that decision, or are you set up in position where you feel that you're being supported? And that's the end of episode 2 of the Barbara Beecham Coffee series. And if you like to support the series or check out some of my recommended coffee lists, you can find the link in my bio. And I appreciate you for listening to the My Wisdom, My Voice podcast with Z.